Hey everybody, I just want to start by saying there are not a lot of options for good backgrounds in this hotel room, so this is what you get, some weird abstract thing and the alphabet. Anyway, as you may or may not know, I am trying to run a marathon in as many of the national parks as possible, and so I was able to get number 3 in yesterday. I had actually intended to do a 50K, but some things went awry during the day. So here is a video of me doing a marathon around Pinnacles National Park. Enjoy! Okay, I am here at Pinnacles National Park, and I am about to start a 50K day here, heading up to a peak and then kind of running around almost every trail in the park. But before I begin, let's say hello to this little guy up here, who I from a distance straight up thought was a real and actual owl. All right, so having walked a mile-ish along Bench Trail, here's kind of the general vibe of Pinnacles so far. Dry, starting to look a little bit craggy, lots of wildlife, some pretty flowers, and this awesome bridge. I have just now reached a point on the trail where it starts to resemble the Flintstones. Not quite Grand Canyon level, but still a pretty steep drop off the trail here. So apparently the cave structures at Pinnacles are made from rocks falling and creating these little spaces. So having arrived at the Bear Gulch caves, there's actually no signage saying that they're closed. So I think that may just be a website update that needs to be done. But as I was saying before, the caves are formed by rocks falling, not by some form of erosion or whatever. So here we are under a big pile of rocks with this stream going by. It sounds super cool. So having just climbed up a steep set of stairs to get out of the caves, we come up on Bear Gulch Reservoir, which is very pretty. Here I am almost all the way up the trail to the North Peak, and there's this beautiful scene over here with these clouds laid into the valley. It's just gorgeous from up here, and you can see all of the like craggy peaks and the boulders and things down in where we just came from. Okay, so I've made it to the top of North Chalone Peak. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'll look it up and put it in the subtitles. But it looks like that based on the way other things are pronounced around here. And here is a panorama of the area around the peak. You can see for forever from up here, and you can probably see up at the top here, there are tons of butterflies. I don't know if I'm quite capturing that in the video, but they're super cool, and they come right up to you kind of fearlessly. Really, really nice. So, taking advantage of a little uphill where I'm going to hike for a moment, I will say one thing you can't appreciate from the video is how hot it is. It's not quite Grand Canyon hot. I won't say it's nothing like that, but the heat is strong enough to be like radiating up off the trail. So even when you're running downhill, it's really hot. So I'm really grateful for sunscreen and light colored hats and Noon tablets in my reservoir. So I finished my run down from the summit, and now I'm going up High Peaks Trail. And I gotta say, Pinnacles has a very Grand Canyon kind of vibe, actually. And look at that precipitous drop. Oh no! Okay, so it has been just over an hour since I left the peak, and I'm about halfway up High Peaks Trail, which is kind of headed in the opposite direction here. And you can get some perspective on how far I've come, because you can see here is the building that's on top of the peak where I was not that long ago. It looks tiny from here now. That's exciting to have gone that far. Anyone who spends any amount of time on trails alone will tell you that it's a really good place to get songs stuck in your head. So for like the last little bit, I've had Brandenburg number 3, which is fine, except my brain is like slowing it down to my hiking pace. So it's a very slow Brandenburg number 3 right now. Here I am at a trail juncture, about to take the steep, narrow part of High Peaks. And would you just look at that view? That's an awful lot of rocks. I think we can all agree. Really beautiful out here, actually. And there's my trail. Here's the trail that was labeled as steep. No joke. Doing my best not to irritate everyone behind me. But here, it's a great example of what High Peaks Trail looks like. Lots of railings and steep, steep, steep stuff. I came here to see condors, and here we have the ever majestic vulture in its place. Let's take a moment to talk about the self-supported ultra marathon. I was counting on refilling my water, which is mostly empty, when I got to the west side of Pinnacles. There was no indication anywhere else in the park that that would be an issue. I looked, but I got over to the west side and all the taps are covered and they have signage that says that the water's contaminated with natural elements. So obviously I couldn't refill. I have a little bit in my reservoir still, and I'm hoping it's enough to get back to where there is water, because I also didn't bring my water filtration system. I cannot tell you how excited I am to finally see a rattlesnake. Promises, promises all the time, yet here is finally one on the trail. Okay, we have arrived at the Balconies Caves here. Again, caves formed by rocks falling and making an open space. Pretty neat. Well, I just ran down from Balconies Cliffs, which is great. Got some, trail love from some other people. And this is a good time to talk about the kindness of strangers on the trail, I think. So as I was looking at that rattlesnake, which you've already seen, there were some other people who had stopped, obviously, because we didn't want to poke at the rattlesnake and go by it. And I just asked, generally to everyone standing around, does anyone have any spare water? And somebody did. And he refilled one of my packs here. So that guy may have just saved the day. And he was super nice about it and didn't lecture me about how I shouldn't have counted on the taps being on the west side of the park. So that's awesome. I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to get 50K done before my drop dead time, where Thomas thinks that I've literally dropped dead. So we may have to dial this back to a marathon, y'all. But still, good enough to check it off of my national parks marathon list. So here's the part of the day where I talk about being so overheated. It is so much hotter than I expected it to be. I don't know why. I checked the weather. It didn't seem, it said high of 79, but it's definitely hotter than that in the sun, which basically all of my trail has been today. So, number one, that guy who gave me water literally saved me. That's awesome. I was down to electrolyte water, but I was also in a place where drinking that was making me feel icky. But then in this last stretch, again, in the sun, that's when the nausea kicked in. It only ever happens when I'm actually trying to do one of these, self-supported events. I run trails all the time in the Bay Area, no problem. Run in the heat, seems fine. But on event day, I don't know if it's because I'm excited or I'm trying to go faster or what, but man, I am feeling it. So now, it's a game of trying to keep food down for the rest of the day. I am back on the east side of the park, and I have never been happier to see a water fountain and a spigot. Yay. Also, this is the bladder that the guy filled up for me before, which means I used almost every bit that he gave me. If he had not given me, that's, half a liter of water. And if he had not given that to me, I don't actually know what would have happened. So I am so grateful to that guy. I didn't even get his name. Well, I sat down. I almost never do that on one of these. I collected myself a little bit. I think it's Liz Taylor who said sometimes you just have to put on your lipstick and pull yourself together. So here I go. I'm going up the next set of the trail. I'm not going to be able to finish 31 before my drop dead time, 31 miles that is, but I can finish a marathon. So here we go. Well, gang, I'm almost at the finish line here. For a little bit there, I was really upset that I wasn't going to be able to finish 31 miles, but actually the course that I planned out, that would have taken so much longer. And also, I did not factor in that I would be overheated to the point of dry heaving my way up the trail for a while. So I've decided that I'm just happy to get a marathon done. I get to check it off of my national parks endeavor, and a marathon's still pretty substantial, especially with all of the elevation gain and everything today. So I'm just gonna go with that. Oh my God.